Good morning, my people. My name is Chief Strongblood. I am St. Vincent and the Grenadines' favorite most citizen. I am the diaspora which is my people. It was another beautiful day for a protest, and I enjoyed every moment of my protest. Let me first remind you, the front of my sign says, I don't want the white man's money, the white man's woman, the white man's friendship, and or the white man's fame. And the reverse of my sign says, white man, why have you enslaved the African American, the Latinos, etc.? All in all, it was another beautiful day for a protest, and I enjoyed every moment of my protest. There is nothing particularly interesting that I should bring to your attention as it relates to my protest. And as you know, when I have protested and when I have updated you as to what transpired while I protested, it is always my pleasure and my delight to bring to your attention something of a social nature as it relates to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I've been waiting for quite a while to get around to addressing the Kingstown Port modernization project. But there have been so many things happening, I was unable to get to it. So now let me take this opportunity to deal with the Kingstown Port modernization project. Such an extensive project come only if there is a demand or a need for it. Let me give you an example of what caused a demand for such an extensive project to be constructed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In the 1950s, when the Honorable Theodore Joshua was the Chief Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Vincent began to export bananas to the United Kingdom. And the way we load our bananas on the vessels is they had to put those bananas on small vessels to take to the mothership, which was anchored in the harbor. This method was very time consuming, and it affected the quality of the fruits before they even get in the hatch of the ship that was taking them back to England. So in order to cut down on the time and the human resources that was needed to load these products onto the ship, it was important for us to build a harbor to accommodate these ships so that the process can be much easier. It is then E.T. Joshua went in search of finances, and he constructed the deep water harbor. When the deep water harbor was constructed, it was a very extensive project for that time and period in St. Vincent and the Grenadines history. In that time of St. Vincent and the Grenadines history, the exports of bananas were bringing into our economy a good $30 million each year. But with the construction of the port, the amount of bananas we were able to export drastically increased, which raised the amount of bananas we exported in the 1980s even up to $120 million worth of fruits each year. So we see there was a need for a construction of a deep water harbor to accommodate ships so that we can export our bananas and in turn get good foreign exchange into our country. And this foreign exchange that we were getting into St. Vincent and the Grenadines were able to handle the cost of the construction of the deep water harbor. Now, it had been over 25 years St. Vincent and the Grenadines have not exported a banana to the United Kingdom. Make it worse, we don't have any medical marijuana to export anywhere, and we don't have any cocoa to export anywhere. These were promises of export that was supposed to be coming stream by the Unity Labour Party administration, all of which failed. We were supposed to export in fish through the rainforest operation, and that too has also failed. But Gonsalves government has spent over $600 million EC dollars in constructing a port that will facilitate only import. Now, what does import do? Import sends the needed capital of a country to another country. So all of the foreign exchange is going out to buy stuff that we are going to eat and put on our back. We're going to shit it out, or it's going to tear up or mash up, and then we have nothing to show for it. What is going to happen is a circulating capital. That monies that are circulating within St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that keep the stores, the supermarkets, the shop, people being paid salary, and so forth, that is going to get smaller. The more things you import, the lesser the circulating capital the country have, and therefore less money to circulate within the community to do the things that people want. Less circulating capital means less people are going to be employed. Less people employed mean higher poverty rate. Higher poverty rate means more crime. More crimes mean more suffering. More suffering means a dysfunctional community. Don't get me wrong, it is nice to have a new port. It is nice to have a new car. But what every sensible person have to consider is it worth having a new port at this time in our nation's history? Is a new port going to contribute to the growth of our country, or is it going to put us deeper and deeper in debt and send our people into more poverty? If ever as a Vincentian, what is important to you is the rights to brag and boast that we have a modern port, then this is a good project. But if as a Vincentian, it is your desire to ensure that you and your children are able to live in the country of your birth without the financial burdens that the new port is going to bring to us, then having a new port is a bad or poor investment. It is only a fool who will go out and buy a new car, a car that they cannot afford, just to prove to their friends that they have a car or they have a nice ride. What is going to happen to that person? He is going to find himself in a position where he is in great debt that he will not be able to come from under. What Gonzalez was trying to tell us also, like the international airport. Remember he said, when the international airport was completed, things are going to be better in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He was trying to tell Vincent the same thing, that things are going to be better when the port is completed. But my people, brace yourself. It's going to get worse. It's going to impact you even harder than the completion of the Argyle International Airport affected you. And I'll tell you how. Let us all remember that the monies that was responsible or used for constructing the port was not a gift, but it was a loan that has to be paid back. How does government get monies to repay their loans? It is by raising taxes. That is how government makes money. Or they cut back on spending. And when the government raises taxes or cut back on spending, it affects each citizen. Let us not forget, it was $600 million for the construction of the port and $100 million for the purchase of equipment for the port. Now, that is $700 million the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have to find to pay with interest. The government have to find a systematic way to come up with monies on a regular basis to service these loans. So the easiest way to do this is to give that debt to the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Port Authority. They will be responsible for making monies to service this loan on a regular and consistent basis. And how is the port going to do this? If you remember very well, in 2020, 2021, when the La Sofia volcano began to erupt, we discovered for over 15 years Ralph Gonsalves' government failed to pay the University of the West Indies seismic units their yearly payment for monitoring the volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So what did Ralph Gonsalves do? He put on a 1% on custom duties, and this was able to pay off all of the money that was owed and continue paying the University of the West Indies on a consistent level. No one knows for sure, except for the government and the University of the West Indies, if Gonsalves continued paying the amount of money he's supposed to pay that institution to monitor our volcano, or if he stopped paying them as he did many years ago. The only people who's going to really benefit from having this port constructed is companies like Massey, the Syrians who import a lot of stuff, the Chinese, Koreans, Rainforest Seafood, Graves, and these people. And all they import is things that you utilize and dispose of. They don't import anything that goes to facilitate the export of any product. Let us not forget that the monies that the port currently makes is already earmarked and it is already spent even before they receive the monies from the customer's hands. So we know for sure at least 1% of all import duties is dedicated to the University of the West Indies to pay the seismic unit for monitoring our volcano. The port have operating expenses that they must take care of, and the other monies go to other capital projects that the government have already earmarked for those monies. So the port have to come up with a new way of earning excess monies to service the $700 million loan they're now burdened with. Now this money have to be paid by the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Although you're meeting it hard and things are bad, you still have to pay this $600 million, and I will show you how you are going to pay this $600 million, but just by using one commodity. Let us say a tin of sardines in St. Vincent and the Grenadines costs $1.50. A retailer will buy a case of sardine with 50 sardines in it for $50. When he sells those sardines at $1.50, he makes a profit on the case of $25. Now remember, the port is saddled with a $700 million EC loan to pay. So what the port is going to do? The port is going to increase the docking rate. They will also have to increase import duties as well as export duties. But remember, we're not exporting anything. So the bulk of the money have to come from the docking rate and import duties. Now let us just say, for example, when a ship comes into Port Kingstown, in order to dock, to unload their cargo, they have to pay $1,000 each time they dock in the harbor. But now, because the port is saddled with a $700 million bill they have to pay, they have to increase the docking rate. So now, when a ship comes to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to unload cargo, they are now made to pay $1,200 instead of $1,000. Now the port have to increase their import duties by about 2%. Now, when the wholesaler was clearing a crate of sardine for $200, now we have to clear that same crate for $250. So when the importers was paying shipping to St. Vincent and the Grenadines of $75 to bring a crate of sardine to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, now the shippers are going to raise their prices because they are not going to eat the cost. They are going to pass the cost on to the importers. So now When they were paying $75, they are now made to pay $100 just to ship the crate of sardines to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They had to pay an added $10 on the customs to clear the sardines. That is an increase of $35 for every crate of sardine that is imported into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The wholesaler is not going to eat the cost. He is going to pass the cost on the retailer. And let us say, all the wholesaler have to do is add $1 on every case of sardine that is sold to make back the money that is spent in the added shipping and custom duty. He is not going to do that. The wholesaler sees this as an opportunity to make bigger profit. So instead of selling a case of sardine for $51, which would have covered the added docking, shipping price, and import duties, he is going to sell a kilo of sardine for now what? $55. He is going to now make an extra $4 a case of sardines. The retailer is not going to eat the cost either. He is going to send that cost on to the consumer. So now, what was a $1.50 item now becomes a $2 item. Because, like the wholesaler, the retailer sees an opportunity to make an extra dollar off of the consumer, and he raises his price to an added 50 cents a tin of sardines. From flour to fertilizer that is imported to St. Vincent and the Grenadines is going to increase in prices, and it's going to affect every Vincentian. Because when the farmers has to pay more at the shop for commodity and the fertilizers for his garden, he is going to sell his produce at a higher price also. For the farmer have got to sell his commodity at a price where he is able to live and survive within the community in which he resides in. What is interesting here is that the way in which this big port project was constructed is a method in which the facility would not last long. And when a quantity surveyor is asked to give an estimate of the project that caused St. Vincent $700 million, I am afraid that the value of this project will work out to be like about 25 million US dollars. Almost 250 million US dollars below the actual cost of the project. Port Authority need to put some high insurance on this project, because the first hurricane that hits St. Vincent and the Grenadines head on is going to destroy this entire facility. You see, for when you are reclaiming land, the boulder methods is the best method which should be used to keep the sea away from the land that was reclaimed. Because the boulders act as a sturdy barrier that prevents the sea from encroaching upon the land that was reclaimed. The boulder method is so stacked and reinforced that it is able to absorb the highest of pressure for the strongest waves that comes from the sea. And the space that is found between the boulders diffuses the level of pressure that the seawater sends up with the wave, and therefore reduce the capacity of the wave, and therefore prevent any serious damaging from the land that was reclaimed. The first hurricane that hits St. Vincent and the Grenadines head on is going to reach the barrier that Gonsalves Newport project has. It's going to destroy a lot of equipment and buildings, and it is going to replace the beach that they destroyed in reclaiming the land. And all that cubic meters of sand that was placed there, the seawater is going to pull it back into the sea until it creates an environment where there is a shallow area, and waves are going to roll up on that part which was the port, as if it was the beach before the land was ever reclaimed. the Port Authority better buy some hefty insurance to cover this project. Otherwise, we will be stuck with a $700 million price tag with nothing to show for it. My name is Chief Strongland. I am St. Vincent the Grenadines' fifth most citizen. I am the diaspora machismo. I'll talk to you very soon. If you like this video, share this video, leave a comment on this video, let me know what are your thoughts about what was said in this video. Remember to like or subscribe based on which social media platform you're viewing this video from. There are many more videos like this right here. So go and peruse the videos and let me know what are your thoughts.